All right, this is Deanna Marie, and welcome back here to the Clue Seat. And today we're going to be talking about He's there even when you don't see or hear him or what he's doing right now. So let's get started. All right, so Esther, the book of Esther, okay? When you read that whole book through, which if you haven't read that, you should read that because it's very, very, very inspirational. You'll notice that God's name is not mentioned one time in that book. However, what he's doing in Esther's life and his people's lives, it's written all over the book, but his name isn't there. And so sometimes when you're living life and stuff like that, it can seem like he's not even there, he's not even listening. But if you pay attention to what's going on in that book, when God's being quiet, he's actually working the most. That's when he's doing the most for his people, and he's setting things up, and he has to set things up because he's very strategic, and he plans it out in a certain way so that you will know that when it happens and it occurs that he did it, because it's not going to be the way that you expect things to happen. Okay. And so for Esther, when she goes before the king and she's gonna say everything that she's saying, like, I'm pretty sure that her and Mordecai, when they thought, oh, how's God gonna save his people in this situation, because this looks dead, it looks like there's no hope, it looks like there's absolutely nothing good that's going to come out of this right now, because it seems hopeless. He shows up right in the nick of time and does it in a way that is so splendid and so grand that not only do God's people get to keep their lives, but they get to keep their enemies' belongings, and anybody that tried to come up against them is basically punished. And it happens in a way that you would have never expected, yet it happens. And so I know that sometimes you might feel like God's not listening, and because you've been praying for so long, or things are getting closer to your deadline and you are getting scared and you're like, I don't think he's going to come through this time. He always comes through. Not one time has he never not come through. And so you need to just understand that when it's your time to go before the king or your situation, and your name's called, just like Esther, because she was just sitting in the palace minding her own business. She was not thinking that, she was going to have to go before the king and, rely on his mercy. And then, she ends up hosting a banquet for him, and then something doesn't go right and she has to host another banquet for him later on. She did not expect any of that to happen like that. That was not how they were expecting their people to be saved. Yet that is how God did it, because that was his way of doing it. And the whole time he is strategically doing it, because it's not just about you. It's about the punishment of your enemies and the people that were coming against you. And it's about a whole bushel of things that you don't understand. And I know that maybe you want things done a certain way and you want it to look like this, but when it happens, it might look completely different than you thought it was going to look, but it's going to be better. It's going to be better, because if Esther and Mordecai would have had their way, they would have said, oh, immediately, we don't want to stress out or have anything. We don't want to have to worry about whether our lives are going to be taken or not. What we want is for the king to just say, oh, I made a mistake, and rewrite the royal decree that says that he's going to allow the killing of all of God's people. We just want that. We want him to say it was a mistake. That was how they did it. But if they would have done it like that, they wouldn't have got all of the blessings and all of their enemies' gifts. And, Haman wouldn't have been terrified when he saw what was happening. And, he wouldn't have had to give all of his belongings to Mordecai and Esther's family. He wouldn't have had to do that had it went down the way that they planned it. So I know this doesn't look like what you planned, and you might not be happy with the amount of time that it's taking for it to get done, and you feel like God's quiet. He's not quiet. He's working on your behalf. behalf right now. He's not quiet. He's doing the most for you to make sure that everything is prepared and that your table is prepared in the presence of your enemies. And so what you need to do is just be prepared for when you get that call and you get everything that you've prayed for, and just be ready to receive and stand before the King. Okay? All right. So anyways, like, share, subscribe, and comment as always, and I will see you guys next time.